We have a lot to go over today. I hope you guys take away something from this webinar. Did a lot of research on this contract vehicle, and hopefully I'm giving you guys something new, kind of getting your brains working on how to position for either a spot as the prime or as a team member on the Pay 6 contract. So yeah, let's get into it. There's a lot of people that raised their hand. There's like some of y'all have got. Appreciate that, guys. All right, so real quick, we are OST Global Solutions. We are a full life cycle business development consulting company. We have won over $28 billion in contracts since 2005. That is funded ceiling value. Just got told I need to pin for everyone. All right, there we go. Some folks on my team are like, hey, you could make this webinar better by doing such and such and such and such. And as I'm trying to get into it. All right. Well, anyway, so we do a lot of work with our clients on identifying portfolio vehicles that they need to have, building and managing their pipeline. We do a lot of capture support as people are preparing to bid on competitive proposals. We do a lot of proposal work, and we have a lot of processes to help you optimize it. We also have the only in the nation registered apprenticeship in government business development. This is a program that is certified through the U.S. Department of Labor. Graduates of our course receive a DOL certificate. We are also authorized to accept the GI Bill. So if you are a veteran or you have veterans on your staff who would like to get trained in the full life cycle of business development, they can use their GI Bill benefits and also receive their housing money as part of the post 9/11 GI Bill or VR&E if they qualify for that. This is the most comprehensive business development training that's available. It is over 310 hours of instruction, which includes foundations of BD, all of the various aspects of capture, all of the various aspects of proposals. We also include some of our specialty courses that you can only get through corporate training, such as on-contract growth. If you have program managers who would like to move up in the organization or have shown a penchant for sales and business development, that is a tremendous class for them. We also have orals and price to win, which are very rare classes that not very many other people offer. And those courses generally focus on how hard they are instead of how to actually do them. We also run the SBIR STTR Proposal Lab for Maryland and Alabama through the SBA FAST Grant. So we do a lot of phase one submissions for people. So if you have grant proposals as well, we support that. All right, before we get into it, I have a pretty exciting announcement. Alessi and I have decided to develop an AI platform to help our clients win. This is a secure Gen AI powered platform that's going to help you increase your win probability by 50% by automating capture strategy. So we are creating a living strategy engine that will help advise you on your win themes, how to influence the requirements, what customer messages to communicate to the customer, what intelligence to gather. Our system will help pull the open source intelligence for you. And we are building this in GovCloud so that if you are a DoD contractor, you can access your CUI data and comply with your CMMC certification and requirements. We are putting in our 20 years of proprietary business development, capture, and proposal IP and processes that we have used to win $28 billion for the top 20 government contractors and for a whole lot of small businesses and mid-tier companies as well. So if you are interested in learning more about that, this is my direct appointment link. We are pre-selling licenses to the software, and people who sign up now will receive a 33% discount off the first year license cost when we launch in December. That will include 5 licenses to the platform. We're going to have a beta that is limited to the companies who sign up. Those companies will be able to influence the features and the development roadmap as we move forward. We are on our roadmap going to be automating competitive assessments, black hats, and price to win as well. Very excited about that. And because it doesn't exist right now, we are also including 5 licenses to all of OST's training catalog, which is the 300 hours of training, 350 hours of training I was just talking about. We typically sell those licenses for $12,000 a pop. So people who subscribe early will get access 5 seats to all of our course material. So in the meantime, you can upskill your BD team and your customer-facing ops team. And then we are only including 10 companies in the beta, and we only have 4 slots left. So if you are interested in this, we've been closing these pretty quickly. So move fast if you would like to learn more. All right, with that, let's get into PACE 5. So kind of cool contract. This contract specifically is supporting the Glenn Research Center. I'm going to go over a little bit of history, guys, in case you are not intimately familiar with it, or in case you are just now getting started. So this is the John H. Glenn Research Center. It is in Cleveland, Ohio, and there is a Plum Brook station in Sandusky. And their main focus and kind of the NASA 10 centers is they focus on propulsion, power systems, cryogenics, communications, advanced materials, and microgravity science. So this scope of the PACE 6 contract covers the Glenn main campus, which is the propulsion, microgravity, power systems, and material science needs, and the Neil Armstrong Test Facility in Plum Brook Station in Sandusky, which has the world-class test environments, and that includes a thermal vacuum, zero gravity drop, and high altitude propulsion simulators. So this contract supports the operational IT and innovation lab ground operations with high-end testing settings to bridge the gap between critical R&D and the digital backbone that enables it. Basically, what I'm trying to tell you guys is this is not a typical back office IT support. This is enabling cutting-edge science and particularly supporting the Artemis mission, which has White House focus of putting humankind back on the moon and eventually the manned mission to Mars in 2030s-ish. Used to be 2035, then it was 2030, somewhere around there, right? So this is the IT and engineering to support these 2 mission critical systems or sites. PACE is the Professional Administrative Computational Engineering Services contract. We're on the 6th generation. The PACE 5 contract was won by the joint venture between Banner Quality Management, Inc. and Peerless Technology Corporation. So they formed a joint venture. This was the largest contract that JV won at the time. I haven't been following it, so I'm not sure if they've won any other ones, but Peerless Technologies was the incumbent on PACE 4. I believe they formed this joint venture because they outgrew the size standard and needed to be able to bid as a small. So this is the contract number, NAICS code. The size standards have obviously changed since the last time this was competed. It is now $34 million in annual receipts for the NAICS 541519. This contract is a cost plus fixed fee contract. So all of the task orders are cost plus fixed fee. This is specifically an IDIQ for the GRC, the Glenn Research Center. This is a total small business set aside. The contract ceiling value, the PACE 5 was awarded at $233.2 million. So you guys might have seen a larger dollar value in the marketing materials that we sent out. That was based off of GovWin, and happy to say that GovWin is probably pretty far wrong on this. So it's not as big as GovWin says it is. So I apologize for pushing out some incorrect numbers. The award was done 233. It's got a 2-year base period, a 2-year option period number 1, and a 12-month option period number 2. And the PACE 5 contract received 12 proposals. So keep that in mind as we go over, as we kind of get into how competitive this was. Here's a quote from Gail Hall, the managing director of the joint venture. Yeah. All right, let's talk about contract burn rate. There's some interesting stuff to look at here. So if you just look at the obligations by fiscal year, this is what you get. There is a huge spike in 2022, and obviously 2025 is not finished yet. All of the contract data has not been, sent and calculated, right? So for our purposes, what's the takeaway of this, right? So there's a couple ways you can look at this. Is you have this large outlier in 22 that is more than double any other year, or except for 23, right? So you could just do the average annual burn without 2025, and that comes out to 28.36 million per year. If you take it without 2022, which was an outlier, I think, you get to roughly $22 million in task orders. So that was kind of the easy way. Then I went and downloaded all of the task order transactions from Bloomberg. So if you don't subscribe to Bloomberg, they have the most detailed data that you can drill down into. At least I think so. There's a bit of a learning curve using the tool, but they have great customer support. Oops. So if I were to use the task order analysis for a high level price to win analysis, right? I looked at all of the recurring averages and kind of looked at some of the outlier task orders, and the recurring task average is 21.6 million per year. So a little bit less than the average per, even without 2022, right? So kind of my assumptions is anything above that 21.6 million baseline is probably for surge capacity or special projects. So if you guys have ever done a task order analysis, there's not a lot of data most often, and there wasn't for these. So, but there were some other interesting things. So this task order was obligated in 2021, which is about 2.7 million. References this executive order that mandated the COVID-19 vaccine mandate for federal contractors. So we had a little bit of a bump there at the end of 21, which skews the numbers a bit, which is roughly about 10%, maybe a little bit more than 10% of the 2021 spending. And then the top 3 transactions for 2022 are these modifications here, and those account for about 30% of the burn. One in particular stands out, which is the task order 36. Well, not task order, but modification 36. Which has center-wide IT for Glenn Research Center. And this is different than the just generic professional services modification for each of the funding, each of the funding mods. So it kind of indicates, I kind of read into this a bit, I'm speculating. I didn't dive too deeply into that, but indicates some sort of consolidated or expanded IT scope that was added mid-contract, right? So some of that is accounting for this big bump. Also, there were a lot of large modifications at the end of Q3 and Q4 for fiscal year 22. So either there was a funding realignment or they added a lot of unused funds before the year was over. So there's lots of potential reasons for it, but I kind of wanted to get into, at least explore a little bit of what happened here in 22. But don't let this skew kind of your yearly price to win, your yearly pricing targets, because it is clearly an outlier. So the other thing kind of in the background research as I was going through this was the consolidated applications and platform services. This is an NCAPS contract that had a pretty significant impact on PACE 5. And this was a comprehensive enterprise solution to standardize and centralize NASA's IT support. So it was aimed to rationalize duplicative efforts and create efficiencies across the NASA centers and other functions, and then consolidate the scope of NASA's OCIO application and platform services at the NASA centers, IT programs, and the NASA Shared Service Center, NSSC. That was awarded to CACI in 2024, and it de-scoped about 5.4 million from the PACE 5 contract. So you can kind of see on the budget stuff here, you kind of see 24 kind of going down some. And, we're pretty far through the year, and we've gotten quite and I know NASA lags with their spending data, but there's a pretty big gap, and it doesn't look like we're going to get to 20 million this year, just based on how much time is left. So this is what it looks like. You guys can read this. This is on the internet about this contract. This was a justification that was pushed out and specifically mentions PACE 5. There were probably 30 or 40 contracts that this impacted, and it took about 4.2% of the total work from PACE 5. Okay, so in real dollars, it was about $5.5 million. So one of the things I like to do, guys, is whenever I'm starting to capture and starting to think about whether I should invest large amounts of time, effort, creativity, human capital in chasing a bid like this, what information do we have to start with? So the NASA missions have changed. Certainly technology has changed, but if we can kind of get an idea about what happened last time, maybe that can inform some of our strategy as we move into the future and prepare for a potential PACE 6 recompete. So I went ahead and pulled up the PACE 5 RFP and kind of went through the proposal instructions and the evaluation criteria and the prior contract. This is what it looked like. We had a mission suitability submission, and within that we had the mission suitability volume, we had the total compensation plan, we had relevant experience and past performance, we had a cost volume, we had a business volume. Okay, so within the mission suitability volume, it broke out like this. We had a management approach, which is typical org structure, management plan. We had a transition plan, recruitment, staffing, retention plan. We had a key personnel section, and then we had overall understanding of the requirements, technical scenarios. There were 2 live task orders or 2 live technical scenarios. And then there was an innovation approach, which was what's your innovation plan and some innovation scenarios as well. Okay. And then within relevant experience and past performance, we could submit up to 3 contract references. So, 20 divided by 3, you get about 6.5 pages-ish, 6.5 to 7 pages per contract reference. So really detailed contract references. And as I get into this later, the winning company, the JV, they only submitted 1 past performance reference. So you didn't have to submit 3, right? And there were many very highly rated relevant experience and past performance volumes that only submitted 1 past performance as well. So you get up to 3 contract references. They can come from your major subcontractors, but a major sub K is 15% or more of work share. The recency was 3 years, and PPQs were required. So you did have to send out those. They also did a combined CPARS rating as well. I don't know if they'll do that again for for PACE 6. But that's what was asked for last time. The cost volumes were fairly in-depth. There was, again, this is a cost plus fixed fee contract, so there was a lot of justification required in the cost volume. You had a full cost narrative, you had basis estimates, you had multiple workbooks to fill out and cost templates. There was quite a lot to do here. So if you are looking to prime this, don't underestimate the amount of work that went into this, because it was pretty extensive. Okay. So then what I did is went and pulled the evaluation criteria, which is this. So up to 1,000 points you could earn. The most heavily weighted, which was half of the points, came from the overall understanding of the requirements. And that was 300 points in the tech scenario, or the technical approach, and then 100 points in each technical scenario. Management approach was 35% of the points. Breaks out like this, with the most important being the org structure and management plan and the recruiting section. Key personnel were called out a lot in the evaluation of the proposal offers. And so that was really key. And then the innovation approach was the least important, but did have a pretty significant impact in who was ultimately awarded the contract. I'll go over that here in a bit. So this was the numerical rating that was given to the mission suitability scoring. The past performance and past experience volumes were evaluated using the traditional confidence ratings, and it was a total rating, so they combined all of the past performances together to give you a confidence rating. Cost was evaluated for reasonableness. So reasonableness does not prevent lowballing, right? So reasonableness is what a reasonable person would pay. Usually reasonableness is established by having competitive pricing, which there was. But this is a mission critical system in a cost plus contract. So the government also conducted their own independent government cost analysis, their ICGE. I did that. I mixed up the acronym. Independent government estimation, something like that. Anyway, they did cost realism as well to determine the probable cost. And people's prices were moved up and down based on their risk rating in the mission suitability and in their past performance. So there were multiple companies who were bid a low price and ended up being above the ICGE or IGCE. I'm having dyslexia day to day. So anyway, we'll get to that here in a bit. So let's talk about what actually happened in the evaluation. So I couldn't find the protest documents, but I did find the evaluation of the 12 proposals. It's a 47-page document where the evaluators walk through every part of the evaluation and attributed points in their decision to each parts of the proposal volume, right? So the evaluations, real quick, before we jump into that, I do want to kind of go over the trade-off analysis reminder here, because there's a lot of confusion about what best value is, and best value to a lot of people seems to it's colloquially used as you are providing the most value, right, of any other bidder, right? So your technical solution is the best. And that's not always the case, right? So depending on the type of definition that the government uses for their value will determine what they actually care about, right? So in the case of PACE 5, the government used a non-cost trade-off analysis where they are saying there are technical things that could potentially materially impact the performance of the contract that they would pay a higher price for. But you have to be able to prove that stuff in the proposal, right? So that the government can justify paying the higher price for whatever it is you think is awesome or whatever it is they think is awesome, right? If the government says it's LPTA, then they're telling you that the best value is specifically related to the lowest cost. That's the best value for them. So this is on a continuum. What I wanted to do is kind of go over our kind of quadrant chart here, right? So on the y-axis, you have proposed price. On the x-axis, you have value, right? So as you move away from 0, 0 on our Cartesian plane here, you get more price at the top, more value at the right, on the right, okay? So high price, no value, you're never going to win. Pretty obvious. Low price, low value may win, but will likely have execution problems. So a lot of LPTA fits in here, particularly for professional services. So if any of you guys were around during sequestration, we had a lot of professional services move to this LPTA stuff. And guess what happened? We had performance issues, right? When you're paying for people to do difficult work, then you got to pay for it, right? More expensive people are generally better in those scenarios. So high value, high price may not win, but you could win if you have strong proof that your price is credible and that a lower price would not be able to deliver the same amount of value, Okay. And then in the bottom right quadrant, you have high value. Oh, I screwed up the animations. You have high value, but a low price will almost always win. So this gray area, or this green area here, this shaded area, is the independent government cost estimate, IGCE. Okay, there it is. And your should cost analysis of what it should cost, your targets, should be somewhere around this. Now, the government doesn't tell you what the IGCE is. But in this case, we have enough data to understand where the competitive pricing is likely going to be. All right, so your main competitor's bid is slightly higher price, slightly less value. The safest place to price your bid is under pricing with a little bit more value, right? So I wanted to go over this because this is very important to the section we're about to go over, which is the detailed evaluation of the PACE 5 contract. There are a lot of critical kind of lessons learned and takeaways in that document that you should absolutely read. And as you guys have questions and as you want to talk about things, just post your stuff in the post your questions in the chat, and we'll get to them at the end. Okay. All right. So within the evaluation findings, I don't believe that NASA released this willingly, but somehow they did. I thought it was as a result of a protest, but I couldn't find the protest on the protest docket. So I looked, my analyst looked, my researcher, we couldn't find it where this document came from, but I found it, and I'm going to go over it. So one of the key takeaways here when you guys start looking at this is that this was a very competitive competition. Very, very, very competitive. So if you look here, you have AFSS scored over 90% of the total 1,000 points. BPJV, that's the BMQV and Peerless joint venture, they won. They were 982 points, so they got 98%, over 98% of the points, so that's the second one. NDB Tech was the second highest technical rating. They got over 95% of the points. And Innovem scored 900 points out of 1,000. So you have 4 companies that scored above 90% of the total technical points. So this was not typical in contracts that I'm usually a part of, where you have this many high-level competitors. And you could see that it was very high past performance across the board, except for 2 companies that received moderate. So there was essentially no difference in past performance and experience. I mean, when they got into it, there kind of sort of was, but the conclusion from the contracting officer was materially there was no difference. So I scored everybody the same because it was all high confidence. And then the interesting part here is the proposed cost versus the probable cost. So the source selection board, or the source evaluation board, they called it a SEB. I think it's source evaluation board. Doesn't matter. The people who read and scored the proposals also did a detailed cost analysis as part of their realism. And they said, hey, this is where you bid, but this is where in the probable cost where we think you're going to perform based on issues and weaknesses that they found in the management plan or in the technical approach or in the staffing plan or whatever, right? So they actually adjusted people's bids based on their risk ratings from the evaluation. So our winners here, the BPJV, they bid the 4th lowest. They bid the 4th lowest price, but the probable cost was the 2nd lowest after they got done messing with it. So they didn't say what they did to each one, but you know, there you are. Mission Innovate, who actually had the lowest technical score, bid the lowest probable cost. So they're on our chart here, they were over here in the, like down here in the evaluation, and then the winning bid was somewhere around there. So I don't know if you guys can see that. I was moving my mouse a bit. Okay. So really interesting chart. Again, I couldn't find the protest docket, but this is open source information, so I felt comfortable sharing it with you guys. All right, so the next thing I did is I went through this 47 pages and I pulled out summaries, and I didn't do everything. You know, it's a pretty large document, pretty dense. And I pulled out what are the things that NASA liked out of all of the proposals, just to kind of give you guys an idea that NASA was actually looking for innovative solutions to make their site better, right? So, for example, in the applications, we had an effective approach to electronic workflow and business process automation that was new. Somebody bid a application portfolio rationalization that they really liked and received a significant strength. Somebody tied their software lifecycle management to a specific NPR 7150.2 methodology that received a strength. In the communications, there was a lot of strengths around supporting the delay disruption tolerant networking, the DTN, supporting space communications. In the computing, there was a data center modernization initiative. Somebody got a significant strength for their approach for that. Really interesting one was a complete realistic approach to vendor relationship management and support of test facilities. And I think only a couple of these actually came from the winning bid. So I'm going over these so that you guys kind of get an idea about what they liked, and how detailed their evaluations really are. So let's see here. In cybersecurity, they're somewhat bid integrating industrial control systems and operational technology environments. There was unique skills that someone bid to staff the IT SAT-TC. Integrating local web services into the web application firewall. There was a highly effective and efficient approach in providing analytical support to Splunk logging infrastructure. In the technical scenarios, somebody assigned an outage coordinator to manage communications during servicing. There was someone who bid an innovative documentation approach for hardware and software changes within the facility services model, minimizing customer impacts. In the innovation, somebody got a significant strength for a lot of value added, no additional cost innovations as well. And then someone got called out for recommendations for enhancing through cloud services. Again, this was in 2021, 2020. It was in 2020 that they bid this approach. So just FYI, that's 5 years old. And then new and emerging use cases for federal cloud solutions. So very specifically, I put this together to show you guys that there was a wide range of solutions that NASA considered and really liked. So this will kind of feed into some of my recommendations for capture when we get there here in a little bit. And then probably the most telling and most useful part of the whole document are the weaknesses. It's always the weaknesses that we get the most from, right? The bad things, right? So a lot of people got dinged for inadequate approach to scientific applications and services, for the software lifecycle management, for approach to applications in the work area, inadequate approach to supporting the unmanned aircraft systems in the NOS. What else was interesting? Someone didn't provide enough specialized skills for the test facility data systems. The test facility cybersecurity plan for somebody got dinged. That was actually a pretty highly rated proposal, if I remember right. And that was one of their few weaknesses, was their cybersecurity plan. Developing an alternative processing site in support of the data center management, not adequately discussing custom hardware, software, configuration management for the test facility data systems, not adequately addressing the IT security awareness and training center, the IT SATC, failure to address data loss prevention requirements of the SAL. We had 100 pages, or they had 100 pages to bid this. So it was a very detailed technical proposal. Some of that stuff is fairly straightforward. Um, Inadequate approach to maintaining evidence chain of custody during an incident. Uh, Incomplete, inadequate remedial maintenance process. Incomplete documentation processes for the facility servicing model. And then some people got dinged for unrealistic innovation plans and inadequate approach to provide an innovative process for enhancing efficiency. So something I got a lot out of this in terms of what not to do and how detailed you need to bid. So, the takeaways from this is that you need to have a solution for every single section, every single area. I think there were 7 major statement of work areas. And you need to have a great solution for every single one. So, interesting, the NDB technical and stand out with the winning bid for each receiving 95% of the 1,000 available points and the highest rating and excellent for each of the 3 subfactors within the mission suitability volume. Every proposal, all of the 12 proposals were found to have at least 1 significant strength and at least 2 out of 3 of the mission suitability subfactors. So that blows my mind that 12 teams put together proposals that all receive significant strengths in 2 out of 3 of the subfactors. So all of these companies each received 100% of the available management approach points. And then the other ones received most of them, right? So what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Or I'm sorry. 3 companies received 100% of the available management points. Each of the highest rated proposals each received an excellent phase-in plan. That was excellent. And then proposals from these companies each had various management approach strengths and significant strengths, but none rose to the level of the 6 proposals that scored the highest in that subfactor. The innovation approach was the least heavily weighted so if you remember, it was 150 points out of the 1,000. All 3 of the highest rated proposals were excellent in that subfactor, earning at least 91% of the available points. And then 10 of the 12 proposals merited a high level of confidence, with the 2 other proposals meriting a moderate level of confidence. Okay, so what were the conclusions out of all of this? The best value determination came down to a few things. The BPJV and the NDB technical approaches both stood out. And either of these proposals has a distinct material advantage over the other. So they were essentially equal. An understanding of the requirements, which was the most heavily related, the BPJVs and the NDBs technical proposals are materially and distinctly superior to all of the others. So if you remember, the understanding of the requirements was 300 points, which was the highest out of any of the individual subfactors. So they did the best on understanding. The BPJV had significant strengths in 5 of the 7 work areas and at least 1 strength in all 7 work areas. There were no significant weaknesses and only 2 weaknesses found. The NDB tech proposal had at least 1 strength and no significant weakness in every work area. And actually, the NDB proposal did better than the BPJV proposal in the end user information management and IT management and governance work areas as well. So they actually outscored some of the, I think of those 7 work areas, they won on 1, 2, 3 of the work areas. And then both of them NDB's tech proposal was unique, that it was the only one that earned 100% of the total points available in both technical scenarios. Those were the top 2 proposals. Both were highly relevant and similarly outstanding. The contracting officer concluded that the non-cost factors were essentially equal. So there were trade-offs. There were sums they liked. There was a lot of things that they liked about the NDB technical proposal, and there was a lot of things they liked about the BPJV proposal, and they essentially scored them the same. So the difference came down to price. So the BPJV's probable cost was the second lowest and lower than the IGCE. and it was significantly lower than the NDB technical approach, which was the seventh lowest, but it was higher than the IGCE. Okay, so the winning company, the BP joint venture, submitted the highest rated technical proposal with the second lowest probable cost, and the lowest probable cost submitted the lowest rated technical proposal, so it wasn't even close. So very tight competition that came down to price. And it was very tight amongst the top 6 highest rated technical proposals too. So there were a lot of great things that came out of all of those proposals. And I encourage you guys to go read that document. It is a treasure trove of great information. I tried to summarize it as best I could to kind of get you guys in the mind frame that at least making the bid, no bid decision about whether or not you're going to be a prime or sub on this contract. And if you are going to prime it, that it's going to take a lot of work to win. All right, so with that, what are the recommendations, next steps, and resources? So if I were leading this capture, I would, one, qualify this and make sure that there is a really strong business case for why we are pursuing it, particularly in today's environment, with contracts being squeezed and canceled and payments being paused. You need to have an outstanding business reason for why we would want to chase this and how we can win. So with that, I would also read the PACE RFP, which is what I've done. Start planning capability and past performance gaps for your qualification and to build that business case if you have not already. I would start targeting past consultants and staff for competitive intelligence and hot buttons. So where are the skeletons buried? What are the issues? What are the innovations that worked? What are the ones that didn't work? What are people saying inside that would be really awesome that could potentially have a significant impact on overall cost of this program? So if you don't have boots on the ground right now, then are you willing to make the investment to get it? Because you're going to need the intelligence. I would also start drafting your win themes. So when you talk about win themes, it's really about, do we understand the hot buttons that the customer has? And a hot button is a hope, fear, or bias that the evaluators may have for whatever, right? So do they have a vision for the future? Do they have a fear of something that could break down, or a critical risk, or something that keeps them up at night? Like, what are those things that they worry about? And then start developing your benefits. This is exactly what our AI platform is going to help you do as well, with powered by AI in our process. But as you start drafting your win themes, and there's a common misconception that win themes are a proposal task. They are not. Win themes are a capture task because win themes drive your win strategy. If I go and document all of the customer hot buttons that I can, and I go and find consultants and staff who give me all of the, at least from their perspective, all of the issues on the contract, and then I start crafting the benefits that my solution has to deliver, but then I start looking at myself and start realizing that I can't do some of those things. Like maybe I can't meet those schedule requirements, or I can't meet the quality requirements, or I can't meet the price requirements, or I can't prove that we've, whatever it is we're offering, we've done before and that we can do it again. Those are gaps. Like anywhere where I have a gap in knowledge, anywhere where I have a gap in technical capability, and anywhere where I have a gap in proof points, past experience, those are things I need to fill through teaming, through people, through communicating strategic messages to the customers, to potentially influencing their requirements. These things cannot be done during the proposal. They have to be done during capture. If you are doing them in the proposal, then you're stuck with whatever it is you have, and you have no capability to influence anything or really make a whole lot of strategic decisions and choices and moves. Okay. So this drives your win strategy. I would also recommend that as you start building your team, you verify and vet your subcontractors' experience with, they can give you the CPARS ratings, or they can, warrant to you that they have good past performance, because there were multiple proposals where the evaluating team called out subcontractor past performance that got marginal past performance ratings, which was not good. I don't know how much that hurt that team's overall evaluation, but some of them were specifically called out and um, that was a failure on that primes capture team. Like it's one thing to say you can do something, it's another thing to prove it. So, hey, you said that your customers love you, prove it. Like, so make sure you vet your sub K's past performance is all I'm saying. So I know that people don't necessarily want to give that up, but you got to figure it out because you can't submit substandard past performance ratings that are going to hurt your evaluation. I would recommend you start doing a price to win, or at least some sort of target that you are going to be designing your solution, your staffing and solution to. Again, we don't know what the IGCE is. You can make some high level price to win assumptions here, but you need to have a target for your cost and your technical team to start designing their solutions towards and their staffing profiles. Otherwise, they're going to, when you do your bottoms up pricing where you start individually pricing out every single item and every single labor category, it is always higher than the top down. So you need that top down approach. You need that top down price to win as a sanity check. It's like, hey, we are including too much cost. We need to back some things out. What innovations could we bid to bring this price down? So on and so forth. Right. So I see a lot of people, and we read a lot of proposals. I read a lot of proposals. I see a lot of people bidding AI and ML and all of the efficiencies that it's going to bring, and their staffing profile is exactly what it was the last contract. And I'm like, so we haven't really, I haven't, and maybe you guys have, but I haven't really seen the advancements in artificial intelligence actually start removing people off of contracts yet. So somebody's going to be the first one. Somebody's going to figure it out, and they're going to have a lower price. So all of these innovations that you have, I would recommend that you tie them to your reductions in cost or reductions in risk and verify that in your basis of estimates, because you have to submit BOEs, or at least they did last time, right? So recommendation there for that. Also, I'd start vetting your solutions with the customer. If you have contacts within NASA, hey, will these innovations work? A lot of the innovations that were bid were found to not be feasible. So, the innovations in the government space is different than innovations in the commercial space. So we want to make sure that what it is we are proposing has adequate risk mitigation strategies with it, and that there's proof elsewhere that it works. Okay. Also, key personnel were called out in multiple proposals, so I would recommend you start recruiting your superstar program staff now. Start putting your capture plan together. So, all right, guys. Well, that's it for us. Go over some next steps and resources, and then we'll take questions and call it a day. So, we do a lot of capture and proposal support. This is a single award IDIQ. So we would only support one company. If you're interested in getting support, reach out and let us know. If you are also interested in our capture strategy AI platform and our training licensing deal, happy to talk you through it and show you a lot of detail about it. We're super excited. Can't wait for it to be done and start deploying it. We also, as a company, provide market analysis, BD strategy, pipeline management, opportunity qualification, other capture support, including win strategy and win themes. So if that's something you're interested in, you can click on this Calendly link here to talk to our team. You can also upload your capabilities for opportunities in our subcontractor portal. So if you're small, looking to be considered on bids, we oftentimes use this database to help our clients find the right teaming partner that has the right experience that they need to fill a critical gap. So if you're interested in that, here's the link. Check it out. And then we regularly publish major contracts through our newsletter and blog updates. So there's our blog, there's our newsletter. A lot of you guys probably already signed up, so I appreciate you guys doing that. If you have not, there are the links. All right. So also, if you would like to talk to me about anything, this is my email address. That's my direct cell phone line, so you can call, text. If I don't answer, apologize. I'm usually in meetings, so just leave me a voicemail and I'll call you back. Also, you can find me on LinkedIn. If you'd like to connect, please do. I am constantly pushing out stuff to try to help you guys meet your growth goals. So there we are. Appreciate you guys joining again today. I will start going through the Q&A. So what do we got here? Let's see. Let's see. We have, yes, we will share the slides, and there will be a recording as well. I see Alessia and Sophia talking about that. What were the significant strengths versus strengths? As a judgment call, there was a lot of them. So that document, that summary table I went over was the actual published evaluation of all 12 proposals. So they call things out that are, some things were significant strengths that they liked a lot. Other things were strengths that they kind of liked. So there's an actual definition of significant strengths versus strengths. So a lot of it has to do with increasing risk of successful performance, I think, or increasing the likelihood, not risk. Can you explain really what the government may have been seeking under the total compensation plan? Yeah, so a lot of that has to do, one of the major sections of your comp plan is what are the salaries, what percentile of the salaries do you generally pay, how do you promote people, how do you give people raises, what benefits do they get? So like what are the fringe benefits, the insurance you offer, the retirement accounts, whatever, right? So oftentimes there are uncompensated overtime policies. Most of those are our staff who are salaried and make above a certain amount. They don't qualify for overtime, so they work till drop. People who are hourly or under a certain salary, I think the labor laws have changed. So you have to make sure that you're above or below that salary threshold. People below that salary get paid a straight time overtime or something like that, right? So whatever it is your policy is, you have to describe that. Let's see here. So it looks like Alessia answered a question. Alessia answered that one too. Will there be an industry date for PACE 6? Yeah, so I've been scouring the internet for that. I have heard no public announcements from the NASA office. The PACE 5 contract expires in July of next year. When they competed PACE 5, it took them about a year to award it. And I think there were multiple industry days. There was an RFI. There were multiple Q&A sessions. I think there was even a site visit. I haven't seen any of that. So the most obvious answer is Doge them, and that there isn't enough people to do a proper evaluation, or they're behind, or not evaluation, but a proper preparation and acquisition. So they might be behind. I haven't seen anything that would affect this contract in particular. I showed you guys NCAPS, the khaki contract. So I haven't seen any announcements that it's going to get canceled. I mean, this work has to happen. So if President Trump wants to do the mission to Mars like he says he does, this facility, the Glenn Research Center, is doing mission critical research and testing to make that happen. So as far as I'm concerned, this is a mission critical kind of contract, and there is no replacement contract that could do the PACE work as specialized as the NASA research centers are. So again, I haven't seen anything about it. Deltec is saying they're expecting the RFP end of this year. I think that's a guess. So, but I've not seen anything official. Hopefully there is an industry day. Any information as to how many people are currently supporting PACE 5? Yeah, in the PACE 5 RFP, they provided their anticipated staffing levels. So I would recommend you check that out. Um, you are welcome. Where do you find the evaluation document where you got the information in the slides? So I pulled it off of Bloomberg. They had attached it to the opportunity profile. So I was like, "Hey, what's that?" And I clicked in it, and I was like, "Oh my God!" Um, so that's where I got it from. It's probably on sam.gov, to be honest with you, but I didn't look. Would this acquisition vehicle potentially move to GSA? Maybe. I don't know what contract it would go under. Uh, so I think and you kind of answered your question here, Kurt. I think it would stay with NASA. The executive order that's consolidating acquisition within GSA is for common goods and services. They started with IT and professional services. This is highly specialized work. So, like, could they ask GSA to run the acquisition? Yeah, I guess they could, but I mean, NASA has one of the centers of excellence in acquisition. Like, I would argue that they're on par or better than GSA in terms of acquisitions, in terms of like the level of detail, but um, I don't know. I'll put it that way. Is NASA experience required as past performance? It was not necessarily required that it had to be NASA, but it is relevance to the mission. So highly specialized facilities work, maintenance work, engineering work that's related to a space-based mission. So no, it's not required, but so like I guess theoretically maybe NOAA might have some contracts like that. Maybe some Space Force contracts might be relevant. Um, it's older than 3 years, so recency is 3 years, so it wouldn't be any Air Force contracts. It would have to be Space Force. So yeah, no, it does not necessarily have to be NASA, but there's only a few agencies that do this work. So, maybe if you have commercial work supporting SpaceX or Blue Origin, I don't know. I'm guessing, right? So, will PACE be based on firm fixed price or cost plus fixed fee? It's good. I think it's very likely going to be cost plus fixed fee. All of the orders, all of the modifications were all CPFF. So I think that's pretty safe to say. Yeah. So Ramana, I would recommend that you check out the RFP. How the NASA defines how they distinguish between a strength and significant strength. Let me see here. Source selection. So this is the PACE RFP. This is moderate. This is past performance. Here you go. Significant strength, an aspect of the proposal that greatly enhances the potential for successful contract performance. A strength is an aspect of the proposal that will have some positive impact on the successful performance. So that's the definition. And there's a whole section under total compensation plan. So what are the expected differences? What are the expected major differences between the PACE 5 and the PACE 4 contract? Well, the NCAT scope. I wonder if I still have that link because I could drop it in the chat if you guys are interested in that. Yeah, so it looks like this. So I'll drop this in the chat. This is the NCAPS contract. I'll pull it up here on the screen here in a second, but so that PDF is a link, comes off of sam.gov. All right, so this is the NCAPS contract vehicle that CACI won. These are all of the contracts that it grabbed scope from. So you have GITISS, you have Comet, you have KIAC, you have HITS 3, you have East 2, so on and so forth, right? So this document shows all of the scope that they pulled out of these contracts. So that will certainly be different. There's likely going to be a lot of different, there's likely going to be a lot of different innovation sections now since technology has advanced so much. So I would likely to see a lot of that. But at the end of the day, this is still a professional services contract. So we're going to still need those people, right? So that's my best guess there. Um, will OST be facilitating matchmaking or teaming introductions for PACE 6, and will NASA require demonstration to demonstrate readiness for CMMC or other cybersecurity frameworks? We don't have any plans for matchmaking right now. That's on an as-needed basis. We've talked about doing it in general because we've gotten so many people that applied in our subcontractor portal. I think we're over 300 companies now. So we were thinking about hosting some of those events at the Rockville Innovation Center. If we do that, that'll be in a few months, and we'll push it out to everybody. I didn't see, I don't know about the CMMC. Certainly they're going to be NIST 800 and the NIST cyber standards. I haven't seen anything with CMMC. That's a DoD requirement. So maybe I haven't seen it start creeping into a lot of civilian or GovCiv agency acquisitions yet. The equivalent cybersecurity standards are absolutely called out. So just not the CMMC certification. So whatever the equivalent is for NIST 800, whatever. So essentially, yes, but not the CMMC certification. All right, let's see here, guys. What else? Anybody post in the Q&A? No. All right, guys. Well, Kurt, did that link not work? Hope it did. I will update the links. Okay. Yeah, I can save this PDF and send it out to you guys. This will go. Okay. This will go. I'll send this out in the update too. So anyway, we're a few minutes over. I hope you guys enjoyed the webinar. I spent a bunch of time working on this to try to find something useful for you all. So hopefully this gets you guys thinking about teaming and preparing for this bid. Again, if you want to talk to me, reach out. That's my personal Calendly. You can give me a call, text me, email me, whatever you'd like. So appreciate you guys coming. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, great weekend, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your summer before school starts. So hope to see you guys on the next one, and have a good one.